Hi Foxwoods, how are you doing? Great, let's start the V letter off to you with a massive sigh. My energy is just like boom, 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 really low at the moment. Maybe it's seasonal, time of the year, end of winter, so they say. August just smashed me. I didn't have a single weekend where there wasn't something on. I didn't have a single day of the week that there wasn't something going on. I just felt completely taxed for the entire month of August. We had my cousin came back to New Zealand from the UK. She lives in the UK. She came back to New Zealand for her 50th birthday. It's so funny to think of my little cousin as 50, but my little cousin is 50. And she kind of combined that with a kind of a family reunion, which was a great idea, absolutely fantastic idea. We went the other weekend down to a place called Papamoa, which is by Tauranga in the Bay of Plenty, and had this park reunion kind of thing, which was great, except it just really, really showed me what an introvert I am. When you think about introversion and extroversion as being like energy levels, like an extrovert being around gaining energy from lots of people, and an introvert like losing energy around lots of people, I totally just like lost so much energy that weekend. We had this birthday party on the Saturday night, and there were lots of, I say maybe 100 people, 140 people at this birthday party at a restaurant, so it was kind of quite close quartered, and there were just people everywhere, pressing in, touching, hugging, you know, faces I hadn't seen for decades. Really pleased to see those faces, but oh my goodness, it felt so overwhelming to me. I just felt like all my energy was being taken away, and I couldn't think, and I couldn't really speak. And my nieces, who are in their early 20s, probably felt the same way, because they actually said, can we go sit in the overflow room? Because the restaurant was so packed full of parks, they had a little room to the side to sort of accommodate everybody, and we went and sat there and away from the pressing crowd. I just couldn't cope at all with that kind of stimulation. I tried the next day. We had a barbecue, which again was really lovely, and I went in there, but again, I guess the side of the parks that my cousin belongs to, there seem to be extroverts, and they're just like having such a great time, and the energy just pouring out of them. They're so fantastic, but I was just like, no, I can't do anything. Not on the outside, because I'm cooler than that. But I had a lovely day on the Monday though, because I just had called a couple of my cousins, and we just sat and had a coffee and had a talk, and it was just fantastic. It just goes to show that I just can't cope. Goes to show me anyway that I can't cope in those sort of situations where there's lots of people and there's lots of emotion, there's lots of touching. I just can't do it at all. Yeah, but August was kind of felt like that the whole time. So I wasn't going into the situation with a lot of reserve. So August has been just bust for me, and I'm still feel like haven't got any energy at all. I did listen to an audio book though over the last month, in and amongst other things, and you're allowed to laugh at what the audio book was. Let me call it up. It was The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying by Marie Kondo. You may have heard of this book. It's about getting rid of all your clutter and all of your possessions that don't spark joy. I did this because if I was standing up, I would have kicked my foot up to the side so that you know that spark joy. A lot of this is absolute tosh. she's quite bonkers, Marie Kondo. At the heart of it is what you've done for years and years and years. I've watched you do is get rid of crap. Don't keep crap. Like if it's broken, throw it out. If you don't like it, get rid of it. A really good philosophy to live by, and parts of it of this book have some real practical information in this book, but a lot of it is just hilarious. Marie Kondo asks people to greet their house when they come home, to thank pieces of clothing for the work that they've done. For instance, thank your coat before you hang it up for the hard work it's done keeping you warm during the day. Stroke your socks and put them away tidily, and thank them for keeping your feet snug and dry and that sort of thing. And it sounds like absolute bonkers, but I guess the underlying thing is show some respect to your goods and your home and the things that you purchase, and only purchase things that you need and take care of them, is what she's saying. But she sounds completely bonkers most of the time. But yay me for finishing something. I'm amazed listening to your video, or any of your videos, or even talking to you actually, about how much research you do on things. In particular, you were doing research into charity, and where to donate money and where your money would do the best good based on your values and that sort of thing that you were talking about in the last video. And apart from the wonderful information that you provided in that video about GiveWell, I was just struck again by your ability to research this sort of thing. I couldn't research my way out of a wet paper bag if How to Research for Dummies was on the inside of the wet paper bag. Could you give me some hints or tips or ways that someone who's terrible at researching, has a very small brain and a very short attention span, could possibly research? I would really appreciate that if you could do that. And in exchange for that information about research, I'll tell you why you should have a KitchenAid. Actually, you shouldn't have a KitchenAid. You are completely right when you say, is a KitchenAid just a big mixer that takes up space and costs a lot of money? Yes, it is. Yes, it does exactly the same thing as your hand blender that you keep in your drawer and you put your little prongs in. Yes, all the things you said, yes, you're right on track. That's exactly what a KitchenAid mixer is. The thing that you probably don't understand if you're not a baker is that the KitchenAid has a grunty motor, so it can do a lot of things really well that your hand mixer can't so much. It beats things really well, which is what it's designed to do, like cake batter and meringues and stuff like that, because it's really heavy, so it doesn't move on your bench. Like you have to use two arms to pick it up. I keep mine out on the bench all the time, and most people who have them do as well, because they cost a lot of money and they look beautiful, so we keep them on our bench. But they're grunty. I was making a banana cake the other weekend, and I just was so happy to be able to have my mixer mixing while I could go and get the rest of the ingredients and get them ready. I didn't have to hold the beater, and it also beat everything faster and better, and it just does a better job. So if you're a baker, you want, you know, that sort of caliber of machine when you're making cakes or other things. I'm not going to get the other attachments that the KitchenAid can have, but it you can buy things for it that fit on the front nose of the KitchenAid, so the motor runs different appliances, different attachments on the front, like pasta maker. So it's got a roller and a pasta maker thing that fits on the front. It has a sausage maker. You can buy a ice cream maker as well. So it has other things you can attach. You can really get into the KitchenAid world, but I'm quite happy with my bowl and mixing blade, and I'm very happy to finally have achieved this goal in my life of having a KitchenAid. You asked another question. I'm licking my finger because you asked, how to enjoy cooking. And this was me brainstorming ideas for you. So how to enjoy cooking. While I was brainstorming this, and I'll tell you some of the things that I came up with that might help you, I suddenly thought, why do you have to enjoy cooking? That was my thought after thinking about this. Why, Fox? Why? Because you're so good at so many other things. Why don't you create memories around other things that you're good at, like singing with your children, or making plays with your children, or going to art galleries with your children? You know, there are plenty of other things that you can do to create memories with your children, and you know this already, that you're already really good at. And I think life's too short to do stuff you don't like. But given that, if you want to enjoy cooking and build some memories around cooking, with the burps, it's nearly tea time, that's why. One of the things I did when my children were little, especially when David was little, was, again, I like baking, so I used to bake muffins before he came home from school. David came home from school, and he actually remembers this. This is a memory that he has, me making him apple muffins after school. And I made muffins because they were super, super simple to make and super, super quick. And he, you know, just loved them, loved coming home and the house would smell of baking, and then he got to eat the baking. So I would start at about 2:45. I'd literally whip up a batch of muffin mixture, grate an apple in it, chuck it in the oven, pull it out of the oven at 3 o'clock. That'd be cool enough for him to eat when he came home at 3:15. And I actually asked him the other day if he had any food memories, and that was the memory that he had. I would recommend learning something that your kids really like that. Might even be soup, doesn't even have to be baking. You know, soup's a really nice thing to have on a winter afternoon coming home from school or from kinder. And I think, like many things, if you do it regularly, repetitively, same time, same place, that builds the memory. And I was thinking of some other things that would be really cool to bake. If you wanted to learn how to bake, get really good at just like a really small number of things, like muffins is one, because you can change the fruit in the muffin depending on the time of year. And while I was thinking about this, I remember your favorite dessert and what you make, fairy bread. Why don't you make fairy bread? You're really good at that. Imagine them having a memory when they're 30 of their mum making them fairy bread for breakfast. It's a good memory. Jamie Oliver is a great place to look for these sort of smart kind of really, really easy recipes. You know, I'm an absolute Jamie Oliver evangelist, but he absolutely nails it when it comes to food that kids will eat, because he's got 5 kids that he has to feed. Picnics. That was the other thing I was thinking. You could create memories around picnics, and they're really simple. You could just have like sandwiches with the crust cut off, apples sliced up, those muffins I mentioned before, maybe cheese and pineapple on a stick on an orange, you know, those sort of 70s things. I think you should just, if you're going to do the food thing, just find 3 or 5 things. I held up 4 fingers, but I meant 5 things, and nail them. And just be really good at them. I've just rushed home from work to do this before anyone gets home and derails me again. I tried to do this yesterday, I got derailed. I tried to do it the day before yesterday, I got derailed. But now I've done it, even though it's like 17 minutes long. I'll try and cut it down, so if it's less than 17, you know that I was successful. I love you, goodbye. I love you, goodbye. I'm thinking of actually writing some rock music to those lyrics, but we'll see how we go. I love you, bye. 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 Muffin face. It's really lame. Nailed it. Nailed it. Nailed it.